Ted Cruz, GOP presidential candidate, who he has been vocal in his hostility to illegal immigrants, as he says. And recently he went on Fox News' O'Reilly Factor to talk about what he would do with the 12 million illegal aliens in the country. But first, I want to show you a video of what Cruz said last month on January 10th in an interview with CNN, where who is it? Is it I forgot who's interviewing, but he basically has to pull teeth out of Ted Cruz to get him to admit or to just say what he would do about the 12 million undocumented immigrants who are currently here illegally. Let's see that video.
Trump has said that he will have a deportation force that will go door to door and round people up and get rid of them. You haven't really been clear, as far as I can tell, as to how you're going to get all these people out of the country. How will you get them out?
Well, actually, Jake, I've been very, very clear. There's an 11-page, very detailed immigration plan on my website.
But how do you get the people who are already in here out?
You put in place a strong E-Verify system. That means people cannot get employment without proving they're here illegally. You put in place a strong biometric exit-entry system.
Will you have a force that goes door to door, rounds them up, and deports them?
We have an enforcement force. It's called Border Patrol, and it's called Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
They're at the border,
charged. No, ICE is not. ICE is not. Border Patrol is at the border. ICE is at the interior. They're both law enforcement.
I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it seems like a fairly simple answer, yes or no. Will you have people going door to door, rounding people up?
Door to door, we don't have any system that knocks on the doors of every person in America. That is not actually how the American law enforcement system works. We also don't have people going door to door looking for murderers. We don't live in a police state. Your question, you keep saying, are they going to knock on every door in America? No, I don't intend to send jackboots to knock on your door and every door in America. That's not how we enforce the law for any crime.
All right, there we have Ted Cruz being firm, eventually, that we don't live in a police state. We're not going door to door to round up the illegals.
I've got jackboots. I'm not going to send them out immediately.
Not yet. Okay, so that was last month, and there may be a little bit of a change of tune since he's been losing primaries to Donald Trump, who is not, he's made no bones about his willingness to send out the jackboots. So let's see what Ted Cruz told Bill O'Reilly this week on the O'Reilly Factor.
Here's a policy question I need you to define for me tonight.
Yes.
12 million illegal aliens here in America. Mr. Trump says he would deport them forcibly. The federal authorities would round them up and send them back home. Costs a lot of money, but he says it's worth it because we just can't allow the law to be broken this way. Would you round up 12 million illegal aliens here, and if so, how?
Listen, we should enforce the law. How do we enforce the law? Yes, we should deport them. We should build a wall. We should triple the Border Patrol. And federal law requires that anyone here illegally that's apprehended should be deported. You know the biggest difference, Bill?
Them, though, as Mr. Trump would look for them to get them out. Would you do that if you were president?
Look, Bill, of course you would. That's what ICE exists for. We have law enforcement that looks for people who are violating the laws, that apprehends them and deports them. As president, I will put that in place so we will know the day someone overstays their visa and be able to send law enforcement to apprehend them and send them home.
All right, so it looks like he's come around on jackboots and the police state. How about this, Ted? I thought he didn't believe in evolution, and look at this. He's evolving on this issue faster than Hillary Clinton on gay marriage.
Can you imagine, Wes, can you imagine someone going to your house? Wes, I want to check your house. Who are you hiding in there? And you want to let me look.
See, I'd be nervous because I'd be like, I've got 2 more dogs than I can legally have under LA City Code in my house.
We should deport you immediately.
Immediately, you're a lawbreaker. Lawbreaker.
Sorry, I've got 5 dogs, not 3.
The idea that in America you're going to have government officials knocking on everyone's doors, inspecting it for people who don't belong, demanding paperwork. I mean,
well, I will say that we do knock on people's doors every couple of years for the census.
Right.
So that the U.S. government does knock on doors.
Empower the census workers with, give them badges with ICE and have them, find out how many people are living here, how many people are here illegally, and when they say, oh, there are 2 of them, just bust in and grab them up immediately. Tricked you.
So people love asking Bernie Sanders, how are you going to pay for free colleges, how are you going to pay for, universal health care. stuff that would actually help society. But they don't ask, how are you going to pay for this? How are you going to pay for the deportation of 12 million illegal immigrants? How do you pay to find them? How do you pay to arrest them?
Big government for you. Oh my God.
How do you pay to house them as you're processing them? And then how do you transport them to wherever you need to send them back to? I mean, we're talking billions of dollars. He wants to triple border security. He wants to build a wall. How do you pay for any of this stuff? How is any of this conservative? It's not. It's crazy big government. It's massive spending. It's fiscally irresponsible. It's immoral in many ways. It goes against the very culture and identity of what America is. How is any of this conservative?
Well, you defund Planned Parenthood, convert the Planned Parenthood facilities into detention facilities, and that's my first and second. But let's talk about why he's doing this now. Why on earth would he change his tune about this?
He's doing it now because
political pandering.
It's why Trump has been popular. It's solely immigration. That's the number one issue. And the hard thing for Cruz, since even though he's evil enough to be not the mainstream Republican candidate, the establishment, but at the same time, he still has to suck that establishment cock. So he's got to think these 12 million people are here working for almost nothing. We can't get rid of them because
he
the
knows
people
that. But
paying
it's
me,
ridiculous anyway.
That's who they're doing all the work for.
But isn't it, even so, he's losing to Trump. And this is Trump's policy. Although I would say he's not going to be able to pull away any Trump voters because he hasn't said how he's going to get Mexico to pay for it. But it's so transparent that he's trying to match Trump on toughness, on illegal immigration toughness. Is this because he's actually going after Rubio's supporters and he's going to get tougher, prove that he's tougher than Rubio?
See, that's a good point. I agree with you. I think this is bad politics in addition to being incredibly bad policy because he's not going to out-Trump Trump. Trump is who he is. He's going to take all the votes from the Republican base that is angry and xenophobic and doesn't like other people and other races. He's not going to take that vote. He's not going to beat Trump there. And Rubio has the establishment backing. The thing is, Rubio is actually not even a moderate. He's extremely conservative. But he's being pitched as a moderate Republican establishment candidate. So poor Cruz has actually been kind of triangulated. He's not, other than the evangelicals, that's it. He's got nothing else.
And it's so sad that like half the evangelicals still vote for Donald Trump.
I know.
I mean, that must just make him so angry.
If he can't do better in South Carolina, I think he's pretty much done.
Right. Well, so I guess maybe he sees the handwriting on the wall, and this is just a Hail Mary for him. He's a religious guy.
He will stick it out longer. I think Kasich is going to be forced out.
Kasich has no money left. He's done.
He'll be toast. Cruz is going to hang on just a little bit longer in the hopes that Jesus is going to provide a miracle.
So do you think this is a transparent, attempt to salvage his campaign?
There's no question. Look, immigration, to me, it's the number one issue driving these extreme right-wing, things. I mentioned to a friend of mine the other night. Look, this country was 87% white in 1970. Okay, it's going to be white minority in another 10 years. For those of us who are married to people of different races and work with people of different races, it's not that big a deal. For parts of the country that haven't had a lot of immigration, they think the sky is falling.
Yeah, it's interesting. The most hostility to the illegal immigration problem is in communities where there are the fewest immigrants.
Yeah,
often.
But it's also at this time of year, it's also being conflated with everything going on in Europe at the same time. So, for a right-wing Republican voter, the reality is Mexico's economy is really picking up right now. A lot of people are going home. In another 10 years, we're going to be begging Mexicans to come here and work.
Trump is right. They're going to build a wall. They're going to pay for it because they don't want us going down there.
No, they're conflating it all in their brain where they're thinking, oh, it's not impoverished people in Mexico who are coming here to escape violence and corruption. It's also people trying to put Sharia law on us. They're seeing it as, the European refugee crisis, which at the same time is also overinflated in terms of the danger.
Yeah, it is interesting how some on the right try to get a nice little, shake it up between not only the anti-immigrant hysteria, the hostility to Spanish-speaking people, and then mix in the Sharia law.
Oh, you got to
and
mix
the
it all
Muslims.
because it's not just
Yeah.
white America under threat; it's all of Western civilization.
Yeah, they're going to come.
That's how they
it's-
present it.
It's the Muslims are going to come across the border and take your guns. It's what's going to happen. It's it's already happening.
Yeah, I mean, but it's the oldest trick in the book, right?
Yes, it literally
Yeah,
it is the
it
oldest trick in the
literally
book,
is, yeah.
and it always works.
It always works.
Well, I'm sorry, Ted Cruz. It's not going to work for you. But better luck in
Now here's
2020.
I will say before we're done with Ted Cruz, given the news we got about Hitler's micro penis and one testicle yesterday, I think people should legitimately find out if Ted Cruz has a micro penis.